There are a few things that you need to keep in mind when you're making rolled flowers on your Cricut. Now we're going to go through and make a little bit more of an intricate design with the Cricut machine. I'm going to be using my Explore 3 and just general cardstock. I'm going to be creating a nice, beautiful flower, rolled flower with lots and lots of petals, and I'm very excited to show you everything that you need to know about how to create this flower, as I will be using this flower at HobbyX next weekend. And I'm very, very excited about HobbyX and to take some of these flowers with and to show you guys how to make some of them. So thank you so much for joining. Thanks so much for tuning in. And I'm very, very excited to get started. Hi Dre, hi Vanessa, hi Michelle. So lovely to have so many of you here. It is an absolute honor to have you all here. And I'm very, very excited, like I said, very excited to get started and, make some fun rolled flowers for HobbyX. I'm flying in on Wednesday and I'm very, obviously, like I said, very excited. So we're going to get started in Cricut Design Space. Now, when searching for a rolled flower, I'm going to go back to the home page, because that is where you guys will more than likely end up starting off. Now, there's a particular rolled flower that we are going to search for. And I find sometimes that when you're searching for a particular flower, it is a little bit difficult because you have a few things that you need to keep in mind about searching for a particular design. I'm just going to grab the link that I need for this particular design, or at least not the link, the code. Each item, so if we take a look at this image, for example, when you click on it, you see how it has that little hashtag code there. So it says hashtag M, and then it has a whole bunch of numbers and letters after it. When you're searching for a particular design, you need to make sure that you have that entire code. Now, it has to also be in capitals. So if everything is capitalized, it needs to stay capitalized in that order. So I have my code that I'm searching for, and it is M3D204FAC. Now, you don't have to remember that all the time. So I am going to post it here in the chat for you guys, and you guys get a snippet of what the back end of YouTube Live looks like, which is super fun. And you'll see the image pops up there. So what you can do from here is I've bookmarked it, especially if it's a design that you know that you're going to want to use again in the future and you don't want to have to remember the code. You can bookmark your design and then you'll be able to find them a lot easier. You can click on it, and if you want to, you can view similar images. So it'll just show you other rolled flower designs, which is super fun. Or you can just hover over it and click Add to Canvas. Oh, hi Christine, 29-month member. Wow, that's very impressive. It has been an honor to have you with me for 29 months. Thank you very much. So when we click Add to Canvas, you'll see a little pop-up at the bottom. It says Added to Canvas. You can click on View. Now, obviously, I've got two because I've done it twice. So I'm just going to delete the one because we only need one for now. Now, it will be a standard size, and then we can start playing around with the actual size that we need it to be. I'm going to be making mine out of 12 by 12 because I want the flowers to be nice and big. And yes, I will only be able to fit one on the page, but that is totally okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to increase this to 29.2 centimeters, and I can do it by click dragging on it, or I can type in on the side 29.2. Hi Susan, Susan's here, Heather is also here, good morning. I obviously said hello to Christine as well, and hi Ellen Marie. It's so amazing to have all of you here with me this evening. Very, very excited to make some rolled flowers. It's one of I love making rolled flowers. That's super fun. So now that we have the maximum size, you may know that when it comes to doing things on my Cricut, I tend to add in like a little box to show like the maximum size that you can make everything. So I'm going to click on shapes and I'm going to add in a square. Now this I like to use as a guide for my mat to see just how much space I can actually use on my mat, and I'm going to add that in. And again, I'm going to change the size to 29.2, or if you're using freedom units, it's 11.5 inches. Oh, wow, North Carolina. Amazing. Great to have you. And John is here as well. Hi, welcome. Thank you very much for saying good luck with the live, and Heather as well. Oh, from Scotland. Oh, that's cool. Very, very cool. Okay, so now it's in front of our design. So I'm going to right click and send it to the back. Now the reason why I'm doing that with this specific design, because I can see that it may not be completely optimal, and if we rotate it a bit, we might be able to get it a little bit bigger and use up a little bit more of the space on our cutting mat. So I'm going to pull it into the corner, and as you can see, there's a bit of quite a gap available at the bottom of this page here. So we can see there's quite a bit of our cardstock that is going unused. So I'm just going to zoom out again a little bit so I can see the entire of everything. And I'm going to rotate it. And as you can see, almost, as you can see, we can actually make it a little bit bigger. So it's not that much bigger than what it was before, but because we've changed and rotated it a little bit, it fits a little bit better on the actual cardstock page itself. Now, what I find tricky is that if you have to click make, I'm not going to save this project. No, I told my brain no, my brain still clicked yes. So what Cricut has done now, which is great, is they've actually recognized that that is the orientation that you want to cut it in. Previously, they never used to do that. Previously, it would give you an error because the sizing is outside of 29.2, but it looks like they're slowly building up the logic in Design Space to actually know that it can fit on something that is a little bit bigger. Oh, Ellen Marie is in California on your lunch for work. Oh, no problem. That is absolutely fine. Fantastic. It's still amazing to have you. So I'm going to just cancel this for now, because now that we have this design here and we've used our guide, we now don't need this block anymore. So we can absolutely leave it there, or we can just hide it so that it is no longer in view. And then we can just go ahead and cut this particular one. Now, one of the things that I like to keep in mind is that if I'm going to be cutting a few of these, I mean, you guys all know that I love being able to use my 12 by 24 inch mat. And I'm just keeping my notes here because I've made note of a few things that I want to mention. So if you find that your Design Space is giving you errors and it's not allowing you to cut that on a 12 by 12, leave your square there, leave it enabled. And when you select it, instead of having the setting on basic cut, change it to score. Now you don't need a scoring tool. You're not going to actually use a scoring tool. So if you don't have one, it's no problem. And then you can select both of them and click attach, because then it forces Design Space to know that this is a 29.2 sized image and that is how big it is going to cut. So if you find that you're getting errors, maybe your Design Space is not as forgiving as mine is, then you can just use it as a fake score line and you can just leave it there and attach it. Now, like I said, if you want to be able to cut more than one on a page and use your 12 by 24 inch mat, which is what I'm going to do, then we need to make sure that we have two projects or two of the rolled flower templates. So I'm actually going to move this one off to the side. And we can see Design Space is being a little bit buggy, just for a change. And I'm going to detach that option there. Oh, Canada, not, oh, okay, I thought CA was California. My apologies, my apologies. Canada's way cool. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to change the size of this one to match the 12 by 24 inch mats. Like I said, so that we know how big a media size we're working with and that we can make the most out of our space. So I'm going to unclick or tick the lock proportions button because I want to change the height, but I want to leave the width the same. So I'm leaving the width as 29.2, and then I'm going to make the height, I think it's 59.69. So I'm going to make it 59.69 as the height of that particular one. And there we go. It's just changed. So now we can see the difference between the two. All right, I'm just moving them into the middle of the mats that you can see. So that one on the right is the 12 by 12, and the one on the left is going to be the 12 by 24 inch. With the 12 by 24 inch, this is where we can start to have a little bit more fun, and we can actually make these, again, a little bit bigger. So I'm going to right click and duplicate that, bring it down to the bottom. And then we can start playing my favorite game, which is Cricut to Tetris. And I'm just going to rotate it a little bit without clicking extra buttons on my mouse. And nudge it over a little bit so that it is... Shoo, you guys, do you guys also have problems like this with Design Space where just nothing, like you're clicking buttons and nothing happens? Drives me nuts. And then I'm going to rotate that one as well. Now again, I like to have these in the top left-hand corner because you can't move anything past that little section. So you know that it's always going to align on, or be aligned on two axes. It's going to be always aligned on the left axis and on the top axis. So you only have to worry about the right axis and the bottom axis being over the edge of our guidelines, our size area. So when we zoom in just a little bit, we can take this design. You see how I move it all the way to the corner and it can't go any further. And it's not going over the edge of that line there, which is great. And then I'm going to rotate that a little bit as well. But now I have a little bit more space on either side. So if I move that one a little bit further, I can actually make it just a smidgen bigger. And by just a smidgen, I mean just a smidgen. So, I mean, if you don't want to have to worry about it being like 2 millimeters bigger, then, I mean, this doesn't really, it's not really the end of the world. But if you want to make the most of your space, then this is a nice way to do it. So now that I've kind of made sure that they're aligned and gone over the edge, so you see they're not touching in the middle there, and they're not going over the edge of the line on that side. It happens from time to time. Yes, it really does. It drives me nuts. But like I said, we just carry on because we have to. And I'm going to zoom out. All right, now I'm going to select that one and select the one at the top by holding Shift on my keyboard and selecting it. And then I'm going to hit attach. So I don't have to attach the score border. The score border is, like I said in the beginning, it's just as a guide so that we know the area, the size of the mat that we're working with. And from there, I'm actually going to hover over the score line for the big rectangle for the 24-inch mat, and I'm going to hide that. And I'm also going to hide the little one because we're only going to be cutting one of these. And I'm going to click Make. Now it's going to ask me if I want it on a mat, and it's going to automatically default to the larger mat, which is the correct thing. That's what I want to do. And from here, one of the important parts of doing these kinds of projects, apart from your test cuts are the most important part always, always, always. If you're going to be cutting many of these, now you've only set up one mat. If you don't duplicate your project, you're going to have to keep coming back to Design Space to select your material again and again and again. So the one thing that I like to do, if I know that I need to bulk make lots of them and I don't have to worry about keep coming back, the hack that I use here is to increase the project copies. So I'm going to increase the project copies to 2, click Apply, and now I've got 2 of the same mat because obviously we've used up the most of the 12 by 24-inch space, and we've now just got 2 of those. So now the hack here is to just click Continue. It seems very simple, I know, it's fantastic. and my machine is on, so it's going to connect to my machine in a moment. Any day now. Now, I'm obviously going to assume that you guys, when you're working with these kinds of things, that you're going to do your test cuts. Add a small little star to your canvas and make sure that you're checking your cut setting so that you don't spend ages cutting this and then it, you know, doesn't go live. And then it doesn't work properly. You know what I mean. You get to the end, you unload it, and your paper hasn't cut through. It's heartbreaking. So do your test cuts before you cut the full page. I've cut several of these on this cut setting. I know that the cut setting works perfectly. Now, the trick here is to click Remember Material Settings. That option is not available if you only have one mat, which is why you need to duplicate your copies and have 2 mats. Even though you're going to make, let's say I needed to cut 8 mats of the same project. By clicking Remember Material Settings, my work in Cricut Design Space is now completely finished. Now what I can do is I can just keep reloading the media and reloading my mat and just keep going in and out and load, cut, unload, load, cut, unload. I don't have to keep coming back to Design Space. So that's kind of the hack, I hesitate to say, that I use when I'm doing multiple types of a project. It is so useful. Morning, Surya. So what we're going to do now is we're going to hop over to this side, and I'm going to just set that up so that the camera is going to work on that side, and we are going to cut our project. So let's hop you over here. I unfortunately only have one extra camera, so I can't just nicely change the setting and have everything already set up. Okay, there we go. So thank you. Alrighty then. Let's keep that out the way. And I need to switch over. Oh, there we go. And there we go. Now, much better. That's say. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our 12 by 24 inch mat that we have right over here. Maybe we move you guys just up just a little bit. There we go. That's say. And whenever I'm working with this mat, I always like to roll off the protective sheeting. Ooh, hi Luke from Belgium. That is amazing. Welcome. And the reason why I roll this off is because when I'm applying the protective sheeting back on at the end, I then have this little section, because it's got the little hole in it. This is at the beginning, so when I'm applying it back onto my mat, I can just much easier lay it down, line everything up, and then release it, and it all lines up with the rest of the mat. It actually works perfectly when you do it like that. So then we grab our piece of cardstock. Now with the cardstock there will be an area where it has a little bit more texture and a side that has a little bit less texture. I always put when I'm working with detailed designs like this, I always like to put the slightly smoother edge onto the mat, because then I know that it is going to press down a little better and it is going to get a slightly better cut. So, and then I obviously use my brayer, try and get the Kelly hair out of the way. Are any of you from South Africa going to be joining at HobbyX? Am I going to be seeing you there? Very excited. It's only a week to go. Okay, now move all of these out the way. Now I'm going to load it into my machine. So there we go. So we're going to load it. But then moving the ones I've already cut, because obviously we need enough space at the back so that it doesn't make a mess. And we need enough space at the front so that the mat doesn't get impacted. What I like to do is use a craft mat of some sort and put it up against something so that the mat goes up instead of straight across, so that I can have some extra room. Thank you, Vanessa. There we go. All right, so I'm going to just click play on that one, and that one is going to cut over there. And then we are going to start playing around. Move this a little bit closer towards me with the actual rolling of the flowers, because while that's cutting, we've got something else to do. So when I was taking this off the mat, my mat is a little bit grippy, and what it actually did was it actually broke this off. Now I could have just put this aside and, you know, not done anything, but I figured that this would be a nice learning opportunity, because when it comes to making a rolled flower, even if you have a section that has broken off, it's still fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to glue this back together, and then just be a little bit careful when I roll this flower. Yeah, flights are a bit pricey. It's not as much fun, but the being there hopefully will outweigh the PTSD that I have of booking flights. Okay, so I'm just adding in a little bit of glue onto the side, and then I'm just going to glue them together. And if they didn't come off, you know, as nicely as this, because this has quite big overlapping areas, then just use another piece of cardstock, like a little piece of the offcut or something like that, that you can, you know, glue them together with. Like I said, I was a little bit over enthusiastic when it came to taking this off the mat, and I kind of ripped it off a little bit, but it's fine, because now with it lying down here like this, is Fred now choosing violence? Fred, no. Wait, where is he? There he is. No. Check at this. He's on top of my fish tank. Wait. Fred, no. Sir. No. Come off. Get off. He's choosing violence, guys. Hey? No. That's not what we do here. Can't take him anywhere, can I? I'm just going to let him out. 1 second. Always in the middle of a life. I mean, to be fair, it's my own fault for letting him stay in the room. Not just your kitties getting in trouble. No, mine do that all the time. They are very stoked. But he loves lying here with me, so I don't mind. He really is a beautiful cat, but sometimes early in the morning he's a little bit less beautiful. Okay, so now I'm just going to zoom in a little bit manually. Alright, so we've got our quilling tool, and I keep calling it a twilling tool, but it's actually a quilling tool. So it is this little tool here, as you can kind of see, it's got like a gap in the middle of the tines, and it's very difficult to show you because it's super tiny. But you can kind of see there, it's got this little gap in between, and that's where the paper fits. So when you're quilling or rolling your flowers, you just slide the flower in between those little gaps. So there's one tine on either side, and then you just roll it in as tight as you can in the beginning. And you can go very, very tight in the beginning because it'll all even out eventually, and you just keep rolling. So you can see there how it's folding in on itself. And the beginning, like I said, is always a little bit difficult, and we're getting here to the section where we've got that join. So we just keep rolling, and now we can go a little bit faster, and you'll find that you kind of get into a little bit of a rhythm with this. So you just literally just hold your hand out like that so that it provides a little bit of a base, and just keep rolling. A lot of people actually use a hairpin, like a bobby pin, and a drill, ironically. So no, not for me. I'm not going to try it, and because it freaks me out. I probably will at some point, just to like for the lols or whatever. But I haven't. I'm not going to do it for this live. No problem, Ellen. Thank you very much for joining. So now what I've done is I've just released the roll a little bit. So you see how it's kind of unrolled a little bit, and as you kind of touch it, it'll settle into a little bit more of a rhythm. Try not to unroll it too much, because when you unravel it too much, then it won't work, and it won't fit onto this little base that we have. So I like to hold it in 2 fingers, one hand in the middle, and then one finger at the bottom, kind of holding it all in place. Maybe I let it go a little bit too much, so I'm just going to rewind it a tiny bit. And here, where we have the base of the flower, that's where I like to apply a fair bit of glue. When we're working with the smaller flowers, it's obviously a lot easier to apply some more glue. You can even use a hot glue gun if you want. I tend to give myself blisters every time I use it, so I try not to. I'm a menace to myself. Like I always get glue on myself. So what I'm keep knocking the microphone, so I apologize for the loud clangs and things. So what I try and do here is to try and kind of line this up with the outline, the outer edge. And you'll also be able to play around with this a little bit and counter wind it so that it all lines up nice and evenly with the edge. You want to cover as much of this base plate as possible. Now obviously when it comes to using these at HobbyX, there's a certain kind of standard that we need to adhere to. So we need to try and make these as absolutely neat as possible. Let me actually just move this out of the way, because that might be visually disruptive. Probably should have done that ages ago. I apologize. So we're setting this up, and just hold it down while it dries. And you'll notice as well that once we get to the folding out of the petal section like this, you know, I kind of just hold it in the middle and fold the petals out as I go around. It starts to dry, especially when I'm using Jewel Bond. As you can see, it's very well loved. This is my favorite glue of all time, and it's a nice strong glue. So you don't have to worry about it, you know, not being able to hold the paper down and things like that. But it also dries quite quickly. So just making sure that all the petals are facing outwards as well. I don't want, obviously because I'm pressing down on it, some of the petals are kind of bowing inwards. So I want to make sure that they are bowing outwards a little bit. And you can see there, the design does all the work for you. And it's even kind of formed in the circles of the Fibonacci sequence a little bit, if you manage to get the roll correct, but I promise you nobody's looking at that. I mean, see, they look, and it just, the flower does all the work for you. So it's so easy to just make this look pretty, and that's what it looks like on the bottom. So you see that little round section completely covers the base, so you can't see any of the twirls from the other side. And if you want to, you can even take your glue again, because there's a little bit of a gap on that side, which may not be the cutest. So what I want to do then is just put a little bit of glue there. And I like to just use the glue that's like on the edges of the nozzle or whatever. And then you can even just fold those up so that they grab onto that outer layer a little bit better. And it's quite simple, quite as simple as that. Okay, so let's do another one, because that you'll obviously notice that the other machine is still cutting, still making some more. And what I will do is I will do another live stream on like Facebook or Instagram, and we'll just do a make some flowers with me. So I'll make a bunch of flowers. Does say. There we go. Just making sure that she's going up the wall. So, like I said, we're going to take the twirling tool. We're going to insert it onto the tines on either side of the cardstock. And I like to kind of keep it right at the end, not too far in, because the moment that you go kind of too far in, then it starts being a little bit more of a fold and fold it the other way. So if you go towards the end, but not right on the edge, I leave a little bit of a gap, because when you roll it over, it then still works out perfectly fine, where it's actually rolling in on itself and it's not forming like an S. So like I said, then we keep it tight. So you want to keep pressure on it while you're rolling it in the beginning, and hold it so that nothing kind of slips out and nothing misforms and things like that. Keep rolling, keep it relatively tight, and as you go further into the roll, you can hold it less, and you can worry about it not being as tight towards each other as the rest of them, as the beginning. Just moving this. There we go. I'm mother henning over my page again, and then obviously as you go further, it tends to slip further away from the top of the tines and kind of a little bit further down, and that's totally okay. It's totally not a problem. So we just slip it off like that, and as you can see, it kind of starts going over the grip of it as well. And then we just kind of go to town. Just pull it out once you get towards the end, and then you can release it a little bit to start making it fit. So so it'll be very tight like that, tightly rolled. You can see it's just cardstock at the bottom, and then from the top you can see how compact it is, and how these middle ones are like kind of facing each other, but then the rest of them are wound around a little bit. And the moment that you release it and you let it go, okay, those two are stuck together there a little bit. The moment that you release it, it kind of, okay, or maybe the tines are a little bit stuck together, the leaves, the feathers. No, not feathers, the leaves. Petals, that's the word. Oh, yeah, no. Trying to find the words. Okay. So, we then roll it up a little bit more. And then again, we apply the glue to the end. And you can also do it in like a bit of a cross. So if you want to if you have a particularly big flower, then using it as a cross kind of works out a lot better than circling. Because when you circle it, all of the sections... Oh, hold on, I need to sneeze. Sure, I managed to mute myself just in time so that I didn't annihilate your ears. So, when you have it as a cross, you can cover more of the pages, because obviously the actual cardstock itself is very thin. So if you have it in circles, you're more likely to have more petal bases that aren't glued down. And then you can start playing around with the outer layer. And I like to try and work with the outer layer first and make sure that one is lined up. Because as soon as the outer layer is lined up, the rest of them, it doesn't really matter where they fall. So we lay the outer layer, and then the rest of them will just eventually release. See, these petals are all getting stuck to each other. There we go. So you see how it jumps out. There we go. Perfect. Perfect. And then once everything is kind of stuck down, you can start folding the petals out. Oh, I love the colors on this cardstock and on this one. They're so pretty. There we go. So you see, I mean, even if you have a few hiccups along the way and your cardstock doesn't quite come out all that perfectly, you can still come out with these beautiful results. I mean, like this one had a broken section on the inside. It was completely broken and completely separated, and we glued it back together, and it still made a perfectly good flower. There's nothing wrong with this flower. It's perfect. And this one, maybe we struggled a little bit with it not releasing and not coming together all that well, but it's still, again, the flower is still perfectly good. It's a beautiful flower. So that's kind of the benefit that I have, or the advantage that I see of these rolled flowers, is that you can kind of make mistakes along the way and they actually still come out perfectly. So I'm going to save the rest of these for another make in the evening. Maybe next week, Monday, maybe I'll do a live where we're going to make some rolled flowers together, just have a little bit of a chat. I'll cut some cardstock and make some more rolled flowers. I'm looking very much forward to it. Hi, Martinis. You're joining just for the tail end. We've just finished making some flowers for the live, and I think that was maybe even off screen. I'm so used to working all the way over there, but they're very, very good. Very glad to have you. Oh, words are hard today. And this one has not even finished cutting yet, but once it's done, you've just finished working. Oof, wow. I suppose you have your 24 sale. So those of you in South Africa, the Customizables having their 24% off sale at the moment, which is why they are still working. Now, so we have quite a few of them. This was a little bit of a smaller one. I had an off-cut piece of cardstock, and you see how when you put them together, they all look super cute. And then we've got, this is a different template. This is more of a rose, which was super pretty. And then this is the same one, just in a different color. So once you have all of them together, you know, if you higgledy-piggledy them a little bit, it looks really pretty. Maybe not with this particular color scheme. It would look nice if the color scheme is properly gradiented, but I quite like it. Yeah, so make sure to keep an eye out on Facebook and Instagram, because I will be doing another live later on in the week. Well, I say later on in the week, it's Thursday, Kelly. Next week, early next week, more than likely Monday night. And we'll do a little vertical make where we can take a look at making some more flowers. And you guys can have if you have any questions, you're welcome to ask, or you can just come along for the chat. That would also be super fun. But yeah, thank you so much for joining. I really hope that you enjoyed the making, or the flowers, making the flowers. I hope you learned something, and if you are joining at HobbyX, I hope that you take this flower template, make a few of them, and bring them with, because it's going to be a super fun time at HobbyX, and I'm very, very excited. I've been looking forward to going for a while, and I can't wait to see so many of you there. So thank you all so much for joining. I absolutely appreciate your support very much, and I can't wait to see you guys very, very soon. So I'll see you in the next one, and remember, be kind to someone today. See you soon.